Sandy Charles with DevilsDigest.com, and I'm joined by our publisher, Hode Rubino, and we're previewing this Saturday's game. The Colorado Buffaloes come to town. So, Hode, you can always make the argument that the next game is the most important, but would it be fair to say that the result of the ASU game versus Colorado has significant implications on the rest of the season?
Yeah, I absolutely think that it is, because obviously when you get to the month of November and you still team that's playing for something, and Arizona State is definitely at 4-4 on the season, is trying to get to a better record than they did last year. So it's obviously a crucial game, because I feel that if Arizona State wins this week, they'll all be guaranteed to finish at worst at 6-6 when the regular season ends. But I think that if they actually lose this game to Colorado, this really could start a tailspin. And the last thing Arizona State wants to do is experience what they did in 2016, where they lost 6 games in a row. I think that Arizona State obviously was embarrassed, if you will, last week, the way they played against USC. And this game is really, for me at least, is really a redemption game, because all the buzz is gone right now from this team in a way. I mean, you're not fighting for a Pac-12 South lead or championship. You're not controlling your own destiny, all those things. Now you're just playing just to be better than last year, to show that you're making some kind of progress, maybe even it's a baby step progress, but to show that 2017 is indeed different than 2016. The way the season started, you thought it was going to be more of the same. Then you had those 2 wins against Utah and Washington that showed you that the things are changing. And maybe after last week, you're just kind of wondering, okay, which ASU team are we going to see this year? But I think that because of everything that I mentioned, that this is very crucial. The Sun Devils, plain and simple, are at a fork of the road, no pun intended. This game, I think, can determine a lot about what the regular season record will be after Thanksgiving. So, like you said, you can say every game is the most important one. The next game is the biggest one. But I still feel there's a lot of implications what's going to happen Saturday for the rest of the season.
Now on offense, Colorado has maybe one of the most under-the-radar running backs in Phillip Lindsay, but you can't overlook their passing game as well. How are the Sun Devils going to contain the Buffaloes?
Yeah, it seems like Arizona State, another week, another type flight running back they have to face in Phillip Lindsay. And I think what makes running backs like him so special is that he is able to do some things on the field that causes defenses to be confused, to really deviate from their assignments and not be sound in what they need to do on the field. And Arizona State really has to be careful of that element. I mean, as much as that hurt them to see Ronald Jones run all over them last week when they played USC, I still think that was actually a good preparation for the conceded Phillip Lindsay. Not that the running styles are really similar between both running backs. I think Phillip Lindsay is somebody that you would maybe equate more to Rashad Penny from San Diego State earlier this year. But I think if as far as Arizona State to know what it takes to stop a running back, I think that's what they really need to employ. And let's face it, Phillip Lindsay's coming out party, I think, was last year against Arizona State. So you think if they can take that blueprint of what not to do against Phillip Lindsay and employ it this Saturday, that's going to be huge. I think one element that's probably not been talked about enough, that Christian Sam obviously was not present in that game against Colorado last year because he suffered an injury in the season opener in 2016. Having Christian Sam not only back in the lineup, but playing at an unbelievable level, leading tackler in the Pac-12, top 5 in the country. That is obviously a great defensive weapon for Arizona State to have, containing Phillip Lindsay. But like you said, when it comes to the passing game, quarterback Steven Montez is not somebody that you really should take lightly at all. You actually look at this Colorado offense, in 3 of the last 4 games, they scored 33 points or more in each and every contest. Now, sure, they had that one game against Washington State where they're shut out, but at the time, Washington State was a top 10 defense in the country, so something had to give, I guess, in that case. But Steven Montez is somebody that can definitely stretch the field, but also a very, 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 very mobile quarterback. One of the more mobile quarterbacks Arizona State's going to see all year long. And having a spy defender on Steven Montez, I mean, I could see ASU definitely taking that approach. But their passing game is sneaky good, for lack of a better term, because they have wide receivers that are not maybe household names compared to what you see in the rest of the conference, but collectively, and the ASU coaches coaches have said that all week long are maybe the best group they're going to face all season long. So I think that Arizona State, as cognizant as they have to be about Philip Lindsay, they're really going to have to play a balanced effort to make sure that Colorado does not beat you in the air. I still think at the end of the day, Arizona State will take its chances with Steven Montez in the passing game beating them, if that means that they're able to contain Philip Lindsay in an effective way. But yeah, I would say maybe much like the USC game, they really have a dual threat offense over here and not just having one component really being head and shoulders over the other.
The Sun Devils struggled offensively against USC, and they go up against a Colorado defense that is drastically different than the 2016 defense that they had. Where can ASU exploit them?
Well, I mean, taking a look at Colorado in terms of the statistical rankings of the conference, I mean, they're really in the bottom echelon, both in run defense and pass defense. So as talented as USC's defense was last week, I think ASU is facing a much different unit in that vein. Colorado lost a lot up front with their defensive line and lost a lot in their secondary too. They still have unbelievable cornerback in Isaiah Oliver, somebody who prepped locally here at Phoenix Brophy, a player that's going to play a lot of years on Sundays. So definitely when it comes to ASU's passing game, you want to stay away from him in specific. But I would say just in general, first of all, I mean, obviously it all starts with the running game. That's always the case with Arizona State's offense. You really can't overstate how much Kalen Ballage was missed last week. Yes, DeMar Richard did a great job. I felt 70 rushing yards with over 4 yards per carry. But for him to carry all the load, and obviously Arizona State falling early in the game and having that natural tendency that every team would have just to veer away from the running game didn't help ASU's rushing attack. So there's no doubt in my mind that if Arizona State's going to win this game, the rushing attack's going to have to play much better, and having Kalen Ballage again in the lineup is really going to help quite a bit. And as I mentioned, they're not facing a juggernaut of a running defense in Colorado. So I think that Arizona State can definitely exploit some opportunities over there. But my magnifying glass, so to speak, is really on the passing game, because you look at the numbers the last 4 games, and to me at least they're really alarming. The last 4 contests, Arizona State averaged in the air only 214 yards per game. You look at the amount of points they scored in the fourth quarters during that stretch, it's 14 points total. So this is not an offense, whether it's on the ground or in the air, that finishes games strong. And I think it's about time that the Sun Devils really have a passing game that, at least to the naked eye, would appear more complex, more diverse, because to me there's a lot of lobbing bombs to N'Keal Harry, and I understand that when you throw N'Keal Harry a 50-50 ball, it's usually 80-20 or 90-10 because that talent of a wide receiver, but it's also a feast or famine approach, if you will, when you have that. Another thing we see a lot of the passing game is just dumping it to Kyle Williams, where it's a lateral pass, bubble screen, plays of that ilk, and I just feel that defenses are keying into that more and more. So I think that if Arizona State can prove in the passing game that they have a more complex, more diverse scheme to present, I think it's something that can catch a defense as Colorado off guard. And again, we're not talking about an elite unit, at least not on paper, that can really stifle this Arizona State's passing attack. So again, I mean, it definitely starts with the running game. Kalen Ballage coming is going to help, and I think that really when we talk about the Colorado's offense and how dangerous Phil Lindsay is, and how much you want to put the onus on Steven Montez to beat you, well, the offense can help quite a bit with that. I mean, we saw the games against Utah and Washington, Arizona State absolutely obliterating the opponent when it came to time possession, having scoring drives of 12 plays, 14 plays. If they can get back to that formula, I think that they can make this game against Colorado much easier than a lot of people think it can be.
So can the Sun Devils rebound back into the win column? And your final prediction?
Yeah, I think, we covered all the X's and O's, but let's talk about some of the intangibles right now. We saw a team in USC that came here last week embarrassed. We saw a team in USC last week that felt the season was on the line, that had a lot of adversity to fight. And I think Arizona State really needs to take a page out of USC's playbook, if you will, and really just think about this Colorado game in the same exact terms. The season is on the line. I know there's 3 more games after this week, but again, We talk about the importance of this game and how much it can really signal a turnaround and have you finish November on a strong note, something that even the program as a whole in years past hasn't always done a great job. And obviously, you point to 2016 has done a horrible job with that 6-game skid. When you talk about fighting adversity, this team was left for dead after 1 and 2. Whatever Arizona State was able to do in that win against Oregon and then winning the first 3 out of 4 games in the Pac-12 schedule, something that you would not predict at all after what you saw in non-conference play. Go back and grab that inspiration, grab whatever it took you to really turn around your play and just really employ it this week. Those things that Arizona State really has to focus on. And like I said, the spotlight was on them last week. You're playing at USC for the Pac-12 South lead and controlling your own destiny in the Pac-12 South championship race. That's all good and dandy. Right now, the mood, the buzz around this team is totally different. And you know what? And right now, you just have a lot of folks thinking, "Oh yeah, it's the same old ASU." So go ahead and not only prove it to yourselves, but prove it to those people that out there that think that this Arizona State is looking more as a non-conference Arizona State we saw rather than the team that beat Washington and Utah in back-to-back games. Just really go back to that and show that you're capable of playing that level of football on both sides of the ball. I think Arizona State, is facing a very winnable November schedule, and it starts this week against Colorado. This is a team that Arizona State I think is better in a lot of phases, and if they again resort to their play from earlier weeks, I think this is definitely a game that they can come on top. I think it's going to be a hard-fought game. I don't think anything is coming easy for Arizona State this year, even wins. So I predict the Sun Devils to win 28-23.
Awesome. Thank you so much. For Hoder Bino, I'm Sandy Charles. For all your pregame and postgame coverage, keep it locked in at DevilsDigest.com.